Cooper Flagg, you are something else. 42 points, the ACC freshman scoring record, and Duke with another win, this time over Notre Dame in ACC play.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. So great to have you here with us on Monday, January 13th, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. And today we're focusing a whole lot on that guy, Cooper Flagg, how special he is for the Blue Devils to pick up the big win over Notre Dame. Flagg sets the ACC freshman scoring record with 42 points. We got to get into all of that. Miami's coming up next. There's Malik Brown injury news to give to you, and we'll discuss all that with our good pal Josh Cox from Duke Football Talks Section 17 podcast. Before we go anywhere else, I do want to give a major shout-out to our friends here within the Locked On Podcast Network. Speaking of Leaf Tulane and Isaac Shade and Andy Patton, who've been able to fill in for me the past couple of games with recaps after my trip over to Europe. Glad to be back stateside, coming back in this past weekend. Was able to pre-record a couple of shows for you guys last week and really enjoyed going back down memory lane, revisiting some of those national championships that Duke has had and the similarities between those teams and this year's current team. Josh Cox and I were able to go back and take a look at the Duke and the NBA updates that have taken place, and we'll have more of those conversations in the days and weeks to come. So thank you so much for your support. I'm back stateside. Duke keeps winning ACC games, and it's something that we absolutely love. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free wherever it is that you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Go ahead and watch us each and every day on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. So bringing them on into today's show, Josh Cox is here with us talking about the magnificent win that the Blue Devils had on Saturday, led by Cooper Flagg, America's finest player, scoring a career-high, a ACC freshman scoring record, 42 points in the win over Notre Dame. Happy New Year to you once again, Josh. Hope you're doing well, and what a performance that was by Duke.
Yeah, for sure, JJ. Welcome back, man. Glad you were able to have some time away and recharge your batteries, have some fun there. But it is good to have you back in the saddle. And yeah, I mean, while you were out, nothing much, just the poster dunk of the year happened, and then as you were arriving back stateside, you did get a chance to see the 42-point game. But yeah, just an incredible week really for Cooper Flagg. And I know we're going to get into it, but I mean, he's breaking some ground here that has not been broken in a long time, not just within the Duke universe, but in the ACC and nationally. And when he was recruited, it was like, is he really going to be as good as what they're talking about? And here we sit the second week of January, and I think the answer is a resounding yes, and maybe then some.
Undoubtedly. I mean, you look at this game for Duke in particular, they won at a final score 86-78 over the Fighting Irish. Cooper Flagg, with those 42 points, got started early. The last time out, Duke played Pitt. They ended that game on the 18-0 scoring run where the Panthers did not score for the final 8 minutes of that game. Duke sets the tone early in this one by going on a 14-0 scoring run over Notre Dame through the first 4 or 5 minutes of this game. Cooper Flagg already knocks down a couple of three-pointers, which you're feeling good when that happens early within a game. The defense setting the tone. And while there are points in the second half where this did get into a two-possession game, it never got closer than a 6-point basketball game for Duke with their lead over Notre Dame. But Cooper Flagg continued to set the tone, and Duke's defense really got them off to a good start early.
Yeah, I think too. There's a tendency to overreact sometimes to what happened in the second half. I mean, you had a couple of things going in that Notre Dame game. First of all, you had Notre Dame hitting the three at just a ridiculous, 58+% for the game. But for almost the entire game, they were above 60% shooting from three-point land, and that was not necessarily because Duke wasn't defending well. I mean, they were hitting some crazy, incredible shots, and usually when that happens, if you were to tell me that an ACC opponent came into Cameron and shot 58% from three, +% from three, Malik Brown got injured early on in the game and didn't play for the vast majority of this game, I would have said, okay, how many did Duke lose by?
Yeah.
Like how did this go down? And this Duke team was able to take Notre Dame, absolutely Notre Dame's best punch. You will not see another offensive shooting night like Notre Dame had this past Saturday. It's just not going to happen. And so Duke took their absolute best shot, their 10 out of 10 shot, and still, what Duke was up 16, 18 points with the 4 minutes to go. This is my opinion. I think they began to focus a little bit on making sure Cooper got to 40 and over those last, couple of minutes there, and it just started backfiring a little bit. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a 6-point game there to close it out. But game was never in doubt, and just an incredible performance. I mean, really, it's one of those games where 5 years from now, we're gonna mention Cooper Flagg and talk about his time at Duke, and the Notre Dame game, the Cooper Flagg game, is going to be one we bring up for sure.
No doubt about it. I mean, 42 points in 36 minutes, 11 of 14 from the floor, 4 of 6 from three-point range, 16 of 17 from the free throw line in the zone. That's what he was right there. Only missed 1 2-pointer, the 2 3-point attempts, and 1 free throw. A nearly perfect game for him.
I mean, 42 points on 14 shot attempts, JJ. That is unheard of. It is ridiculous. And then here's the thing. You add to that, JJ, and it's hard to do those on kind of counting stats, but you add to that like the defensive, the commitment to defense that he does. And we've spoken about it, over the last couple of weeks, but like the commitment level that he has on the defensive end, you don't find a player that fills up the stat sheet on offense like that. And then it's like, oh, by the way, he also is the team leader on defense and sets the tone on the other side of the court as well. And he's just having an incredible season, but it was really capped off on that Saturday 42-point game.
And how deflating this must be for Notre Dame, to your point, with how well they shot the basketball. 14 of 24 from three-point range. That's 58.3%, nearly 60% from three-point range on 14 makes, and you still lose by 8. This is a Notre Dame team that got Marcus Burton back, the freshman of the year, who won that award somehow, some way over Jared McCain last season. He missed a ton of time during the middle of the year, comes back for the UNC game last weekend. They've got a 2-point lead, Josh, with less than a minute to go. They foul a 3-point shooter, and North Carolina escapes with the victory over Notre Dame. The ACC continues to not do any favors whatsoever for Duke this season. But as long as Duke keeps winning, it really doesn't matter. They're now 6-0. But, man, it's just, tough luck of the not luck of the Irish right now with what they're doing, with the way things have been going for Notre Dame basketball.
I mean, yeah, for sure. You got to feel for Coach Shrewsbury and that team. I mean, just, the way they lose that Carolina game, there is absolutely, there's one thing you cannot do when you're up 3, JJ. Yeah. There's one thing you cannot do. There are many things you can do. One thing you cannot do is foul 3-point shooter and him hit the shot. And that's exactly what happened. It was just a terrible thing for them. But yeah, Notre Dame and the ACC, I mean, let's be honest. We know the ACC's down. And Duke is going to be favored even with Malik Brown, as I know we're going to speak about in a later segment. Even with his injury, Duke is going to be favored in every ACC game from here until the end of the season. But at the end of the day, you've got to go out and you've got to win the basketball games, and you've got to take the best shots, right, from these other teams. I mean, Duke is playing a Miami team that's coming up Tuesday, and Miami struggled the entire season, and you have the coaching change and all of that. But at the end of the day, you still got to show up, understanding they're going to bring 110% of what they've got, to Cameron. And so, at the end of the day, we have played as Duke basketball. We played in a difficult ACC, and guess what? You've got to go out and win every game that you can. And then we played in an ACC like this year, and guess what? You still got to go out and win the games. They're not handed to you. So Duke's got his work cut out for it.
All right, let's keep moving forward. Let's talk about this win once more for the Blue Devils. Let's talk about Cooper Flagg's 42 points, Malik Brown's injury, and what's next for the Blue Devils as they get set to host Miami inside Cameron Indoor. We will have that conversation after we take this first break here on today's show. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff games is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games and can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. what a playoff we've had so far. Now we're set for a national championship game, funny enough, between Notre Dame and Ohio State. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. And we're back here on the show. I've got Josh Cox here with us talking about Cooper Flagg's 42 points over Notre Dame in the win. And there's a much larger discussion being had amongst college basketball fans, and Duke is very much in the heart of this conversation, Josh, and that's whether or not we've seen kind of a shift in the National Player of the Year award race following Cooper Flagg's not only 42 points, but as you said, this tear that Duke's on, some of these 20-point victories they've been having in ACC play, the poster dunk over Pittsburgh that he had in the middle of last week, and then over the weekend, the Auburn Tigers on the road at South Carolina, who are now the new number one team in America following Tennessee's loss last week to Florida. Johni Broome goes down early in the second half, a low ankle sprain for him. He's out indefinitely is the wording that Auburn has chosen to use with his injury. And now people are wondering, what does this mean for Cooper Flagg's pursuit of the Player of the Year award? Only 3 freshmen have ever won this award before, and Cooper Flagg's trying to do that for Duke this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the if you say name the top 3 players, in college basketball, it's going to be Johni Broome, it's going to be Cooper Flagg, and then it's going to be whoever at the third. But I think those 2 guys really, lead the way there. And it's unfortunate the injury there to Broome this past weekend. Was actually watching that game when it happened, and I honestly thought at first that he had just done your typical rolled your ankle, stepping on someone's foot type of thing, and he was going to be fine. But then as he stayed out on the court extended amount of time, you really took a look at that and you're like, man, he really turned that thing over pretty bad. And, hopefully he can get back and get that sprain taken care of and get back on the court. Because you never want – here's the deal. You want to win the National Player of the Year for sure, but you want to win it. You want to win it because you were the best player, in college basketball, and everyone was at full strength and you were able to win that. So I will say about Cooper, and shout out to Duke NBA, Zion Ojale on Twitter. Cooper Flagg's numbers in ACC play. So this is conference play. I don't know if you've seen this tweet, JJ. 23.7 points per game. 59% field goal percentage. So let's just round up to 60.
Yeah.
Maybe. 55% three-point shooting. 88% free throw shooting. 7.7 rebounds and 4 assists per game. This is not including steals and all the other stats that you can count. So legitimately, Cooper is almost at 60, 50, 90.
Yeah.
In ACC play. JJ, and here's the thing. This is a guy who coming in, all reports were, hey, this guy's going to stuff the stat sheet, but it's going to be in the rebound, steals, and he does. He does. And assists. He does do that. But man, he's scoring the basketball right now just with a at a standard that I don't think any Duke fan really thought was going to take place. And so those are ridiculous stats, JJ. I mean, ridiculous stats. And if he keeps that up, even if he's gonna tail off a little bit, probably in one of those categories, we'll see. But if he gets anywhere remotely close to that for the entire ACC season, and there's no way this guy is not the National Player of the Year, in my opinion. Now that is obviously looking through a little bit of a Duke blue goggle,
no doubt.
But I don't. If he continues the streak he's on, man, there's no way you're going to deny him that. No way.
Yeah, 55% from 3 in ACC play is just the craziest. It doesn't make sense because just a few weeks ago we're having a conversation of what's wrong with this 3-point shot. Is this just the norm? Do we get used to this or whatever? And so I think it's fair to say this is the extreme opposite on the positive side of things. I can't envision him shooting 70% from 3-point range, Josh. I don't know that there's that big of a swing in the other direction, but the fact that he's gotten to that point so far in league play is ridiculous. you just want to be able to carry it out, because here's the reality. This Duke team has so many bigger pictures than winning a National Player of the Year award or dominating a subpar ACC. There are 14 games left in conference play, another game in the Illinois game to factor in there. So 15 games left in the regular season. You've got 3 coming up in the ACC tournament, hopefully, if you keep winning those. And then you want to win all 6 coming up in the tournament, in the big tournament of them all. So that's still 24 games left to be played for Duke this season if they can achieve the ultimate goal, meaning more games left than games that have been played so far. A whole lot of different things could possibly change. Man, we're just riding high with where things are at right now, though.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the reason why Duke fans should be riding high, and the reason why Duke fans, are justified in this, is that, historically, the December ACC games, which I believe historically was just maybe 1, but moving into the new year, that was a time when Duke's historically struggled coming back from Christmas break. It's taken them the month of January. I mean, we've had some very, very bad months of January for Duke basketball. And here we are. I know we're early on in the month, but still, we're a few days into the month, 2 to 3 games into the new year, and Duke is playing seemingly its best basketball of the season. And I do think you have to attribute it, as you mentioned, JJ, a little bit to the ACC being down. I mean, Cooper's going to have a little bit of an easier time, with a Virginia Tech, than he did, say, a Baylor or a Kansas or a Auburn, just because of the level of competition. And so I do think that factors into it a little bit. But, at the end of the day, you've got to hit the 3-pointers.
Yeah,
like they don't just fall in. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You still have to hit the shots, and it's not like Cooper's getting wide open threes with no one anywhere around him. I mean, he's having to catch these in the flow of the offense and make the shots. And so, once again, I'm trying to think of something to, to kind of bring the hype down a little bit. I really can't think of anything right now. And I'm not going to speak any negativity into the universe that could possibly happen there. So I'm just keeping it positive.
I don't want to do that either, because it feels like the law of averages, a game should come up here. Maybe we look at this one. I mean, a team just shot 60% from 3 against a Duke team that had been winning ACC games by 20-plus points, and they still won. Duke still won the basketball game thanks to Mr. Flagg. He is fantastic. So much fun to watch. Malik Brown, however, goes down in this game against Notre Dame, only out there for a single minute of action. Really concerned about what that means. And then earlier today, we find out from head coach John Shire he's going to miss some time, and he's not going to be available for several games. It's kind of the wording that Coach Shire used in that announcement. What does that mean for Duke?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I mean, Malik Brown is irreplaceable on defense. I mean, his skill set is unique, elite, first team all defense last year in the ACC at Syracuse. And we've seen the fruits of that, so far this season. And so, it's going to look different. I will say, Kaman Malawach has begun what I believe Duke fans hopes is that big man progression that happens sometime around December, early January, or it has in the past with a player like Mark Williams, a player like Derek Lively. We've seen that transition begin to happen. I mean, listen, I know we're talking about Cooper Flagg in the Notre Dame game, but Kaman Malawach with 19 and 10 that game had extended playing time. And so you are going to see a lot more of Kaman. You're going to see Duke commit to him being on the court. Coach Shire said in his Monday presser that you're going to see a little bit of Mason Gillis potentially. I don't understand quite that on the 5, but we'll see. I think you're going to see Cooper slide down a little bit, maybe play a little small ball. And then, of course, you've got Big Pat Ngangba on the bench there, who was, recovering from an injury in the offseason, sat out at the beginning of the season, but can definitely provide some depth there. He's a big body. He's a highly recruited guy. And so it's just going to look a little bit different, because here's the thing. None of those players, Cooper Flagg included, brings the same skill set defensively that Malik does. Now, with Cooper and Gillis, you can definitely switch 1 through 5 and make things a little bit difficult on your opponent. But I would look for Duke to really develop the Kaman Malawach lineup and really kind of go all in, trying to maximize his skill set both on the offensive and the defensive end during this time.
Yeah, good thing here for Duke is that they are one of the deepest teams in the ACC, certainly in all of America. They might not play those players to be, to have that depth conversation. But the fact that they've got these guys on their roster shows the talent in the Duke basketball program. So we shall see how it all comes together. John Shire saying, quote, he will miss weeks. It could be longer, but he will miss the next several games minimum. So we'll see what all exactly that means for Malik Brown, but Duke will move forward without the Syracuse transfer in a couple of these games. The next game up for the Blue Devils is a home game against Miami. Let's preview that a little bit with Josh as we bring this episode of Locked On Blue Devils down to a close. We'll continue here in just a moment. All right, Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at TurboTax. Intuit TurboTax, with taxes dealing the piles of paperwork and frustrating forms, and then waiting and wondering and worrying if you're ever going to get any money back. Now taxes is easily uploading your form to a TurboTax expert who's matched to your unique tax situation. An expert who's backed by the latest technology, which cross-checks millions of data points for 100% accuracy. While they work on your taxes, you get real-time updates on their progress. And then you get the most money back guaranteed, all while you get to go about your day. No stressing, no worrying, no waiting. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. TurboTax is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Duke will be back in action on Tuesday night from inside Cameron Indoor Stadium. Josh Cox is here with me today. They're taking on Miami, and it's been a roller coaster of a year so far for the Hurricanes. At the turn of the new year, their longtime head coach, Jim Larinaga, said, I'm not going into 2025 with you. Let's stop this right now. He walks away. Looks like it is going to be a full-fledged retirement for Jim Larinaga, who has taken this Miami program to a Final Four. He took George Mason to a Final Four. He's done a lot of really good things, but it's not been a good basketball season so far for the Hurricanes. They lost out on the Boozer Twins sweepstakes, and now this team comes into Cameron tomorrow night.
Yeah, and they're struggling, JJ. They're in the cellar of the ACC. They're currently 4-12 on the season. They're 0-5 in conference play. They've lost 5 straight games. They've yet to win a true road game on the entire season. It's just not looking good in Coral Gables. And, they're at the point I feel like it's just like, let's just figure out what the future is going to look like, and let's get to next season. Let's get to the off season. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it, for them. They're bad, but Duke still has to go out and win a basketball game. And I mean, Notre Dame, speaking of the cellar, Notre Dame's just right above them in the ACC as far as, standings wise, even though I think you and I both agree that Notre Dame's been so close on a couple of games, they're probably better than what their ACC record shows.
Right.
But still, I mean, that just shows you bottom of the ACC can definitely come out and compete. I'm not trying to blow smoke here and act like I think this game is going to be, a single digit game. I believe Duke wins this game handily. But it's just crazy how quickly a program can rise and fall. And what you've seen with Miami, over the last 3 seasons, you've seen them a Final Four run, a decent run, and now the bottom has completely fallen out. Obviously with the result being their coach literally taking off in the middle of the season. Yeah. And so I'm not here to comment on that or give my opinion on that, but just unfortunate for that program and for the players.
Yeah, at the time Josh and I are recording this, our friends at FanDuel have yet to put an official line out there in terms of what this margin could likely be for this game, but it's going to be handedly in Duke's favor. If you look at ESPN analytics and their basketball power index, like we like to do here on the program from time to time, it gives Duke a 97% chance to win this game, just 3% against Miami. So surprising because, man, there have been so many amazing Duke and Miami games over the years that we've gotten to watch, right? We talk about individual games, the Cooper Flagg game against Notre Dame. I'm right now thinking about the Ryan Kelly game against Miami when he comes back from an injury and what a classic that was, or the number of times that Duke has gone down to Coral Gables and been handed an ugly loss and have to come back home to Durham. So just totally different as to what we've seen so far from Miami. And if Duke just kind of plays their game they're going to be totally fine. There's no worry about it. But they've just got to wake up, get out there on the floor, and make sure they take care of business in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. And Miami's going to be a guard-heavy team with, Pack and Cleveland, and Duke's just going to have to defend on the perimeter. I don't believe Miami really has a huge low post presence as far as scoring the basketball is concerned. Will be interesting to see what Coach Shire does with the rotation and lineups in this game. I think you could see, if we do go a little smaller on the Duke side with a Gillis, playing with Cooper. I do think this could potentially be actually an opportunity for Isaiah maybe to get a little bit more run there in Mason's, wing spot. I'm not sure about that. I'm just kind of spitballing there. But it will be interesting to see. And Isaiah, by the way, has got to begin hitting shots again. I mean, he's on the court to be a heater, a heat check, and he's got to hit when he's on the court. But yeah, it will be interesting to see, the rotation. Would be a good time, potentially to see Big Pat get some minutes and get a little bit more acclimated to gameplay and speed there. And, who knows? The thing that you're looking for really, JJ, not just in this game, but this is going to be the beginning of it, is can Duke utilize this time without Malik Brown against a team like Miami and then moving forward to hone in on the lineups with Kaman and to make those lineups the best they could possibly be, but then also to develop the other guys, the Pats and the Gillises and whatnot, because you never know, JJ. Listen, you just spoke about 24 potential games remaining in this season if they go through the ACC tournament and all the way through the NCAA tournament. At some point in time in those games, there's going to be someone that's on that Duke bench currently, just like Isaiah Evans was needed and necessary for that Auburn game. Yeah. There's going to be another one of those situations. So whether it's Big Pat coming in and playing 8 to 10 minutes in a big game of great defense and rebounding for the bigs, or whether it's Gillis, just showing up in a certain way, or Evans again, whatever it may be. And so this is a time.
We're still waiting for Caleb Foster, man. I know he's going to carry us one day.
I haven't given up. I haven't given up on CFOS. But somebody like that, right? And so I think this is the time to develop those and to see what you have there. And once again, Coach Shire has the luxury of a deep bench this year. And luckily for Duke and Duke fans, he's got a lot of different lineups he can play with.
I hate to tell you this, Josh, but you got to stay up past your bedtime tomorrow because it's a 9 p.m. Eastern tip-off for this one to be played, and people can watch on ESPN. So a late one coming.
Yeah, I'll be in the house. I'll be in the house on that one. You can follow at Duke Report on Twitter. So I'll be in the house in Cameron for the Miami game on Tuesday.
Tell us about the Section 17 podcast as well as we close, Josh. How can they support you?
Yeah, for sure. You may not know if you're listening to this, Duke plays football. And so the Duke football program under head coach Manny Diaz, obviously a 9-win season in his first year. Anyway, we cover Duke football. We deep dive into Duke football. And so we would love to have you follow along our YouTube channel. Just look for Section 17 podcast, same on Apple, Spotify, etc. And we would appreciate all the support and the following, from our friends at Locked On for sure.
Good to see you again, Josh. We'll do it again soon, okay?
Have a good week, man. We'll see you.
All right, that's Josh Cox joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. I love that from him. Breaking news, Duke will play football in 2025. It's going to happen, so go support the Section 17 podcast as well. Big one coming up tomorrow in basketball against Miami. Follow us on X at @LO_Blue Devils. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel as we're getting so close to 3,000 YouTube subscribers. Really excited to cross that milestone once we get there. As always, let's go Duke. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.